Welcome back, everybody. We are finally getting back to work on this Nissan 240SX S13 build. In the last video, we got our goals achieved of over 400 wheel horsepower. If you haven't seen it, go check out the video that I'm going to link above here and really watch that video. You can see everything that we did to the inside of the motor. Everything's done there. So the motor is pretty much good to go. We got some fine tuning left to do in the springtime once we can get back on these streets and do some street pulls and things like that. Get everything dialed in, get some anti-lag, all that sort of stuff sorted out. But now it is time to do everything else to this car. I have been waiting quite some time now for over $10,000 in stuff that needs to get done to this car. We're going to be doing everything from the exterior and the interior, wheels, brakes, hubs, bodywork, a full interior redo. I'm not gutting it completely though. I'm not gonna have a fully drifted out car, even though it'll feel faster with weight reduction and all that sort of stuff. I still want to keep this car super clean. It was supposed to be a budget build, but we blew that completely out of the water. But we're still doing things in a relatively cheap manner, you know, not kind of like similar to Donut where they have high and low. We're kind of going middle of the road. What's going to be best for this chassis without being a full race car and without being a piece of junk? So I've got over $10,000 worth of parts here, and we are still waiting on a few more. But we got bodywork, we got wheels, we got some stereo stuff, we got brakes, everything, and we got this car right here. We need to get it all dialed in on. If you check out the paint right now, it was fully detailed. However, I was doing some work in the shop here, got a bunch of dust everywhere, and then I had to pull it outside. And now it's created this really crazy design with the dust on the black paint. So we gotta get this thing cleaned up, gotta get working on the inside. A little hydro in there, a little sneak peek of what's yet to come. So stick around, we got lots of work to do this thing. We're gonna focus today on getting this car in the air and working on the bottom side. The interior is something that everybody's gonna see. The undercarriage is something that probably nobody's ever gonna see, but it's important to me, so we're gonna get it in the air, get the whole chassis cleaned up. There's some framework that I need to get done, as well as I wanna change out all the bushings, make sure everything's nice and tight, get a fresh coating on the underside, make sure everything is pristine, start from the bottom up. And then once everything's cleaned up there, we'll move to the steering components. We got some angle kits that need to go on here and some steering components. And then we're gonna move to the brakes and the wheels. And then we can work on the exterior of the body and the interior and everything like that. So stick around, we got lots of work to do to this thing. It's gonna be a multi-part video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you can really follow along with this build. And then we can get it back on the street in a couple months here once this thing is fully done. What color do you think I should wrap this thing? I have an idea in mind with the whole theme that I'm doing here, but let's see your thoughts. What is your favorite color of a Nissan 240SX S13 chassis? What do you think is gonna go well? It's perfect that it's already black. It's the perfect starting point for a wrap because you don't have to do all the door sills and everything like that. So we have endless opportunities to do whatever we want. I have an idea. Let's see what you guys think. So now that the car is in the air, you can start to have a look underneath and what needs to be done. And as you can see, a little bit of frame rot here. So we have some frame pieces that go in and get welded up. So that's going to be step one for today. Clean this up, get the frame replacements in place. And then I already did the subframe rear bushings and the power steering rack bushings. We got some components here in the back already replaced, and coils are already in. So we got some really rotten bushings and everything to go through. So I want to clean everything up. This exhaust is also going to be going. So while we're under here, we'll disconnect that, get that out of the way, get everything nice and clean. So first things first, grind up this, and get those frame plates in, weld her up. So here you can see what we got. New frame replacement sections from Excessive Manufacturing. And yeah, to the left and the right, obviously there's some slight differences between the two. We'll have to go and check out what fits where, get it snugged up as much as possible after we clean the frame. Okay, so we got the rust removed. Took a wire wheel and a flapper disc all around the area. Exposed some bare metal. Got this one mostly fit up. It's very close. So I'm gonna tack some sides and then hammer it into position, bend it a little bit if I need to get it, these bolt holes and stuff perfectly lined up. But you can definitely see there was some frame hits at some point in this car's life, so I won't be able to fill this in very well, but as long as I can get the perimeter welded up real nice and tight. This side's really tight along the top. All along there, we should be good. So get this one tacked up, and then this one I just have resting in place. Haven't done any cleaning, just wanted to see fitment. But we'll get this side cleaned up and do this one, and we'll fully weld them. So I got her all welded up. Not the best welds, but a grinder and paint makes me the welder I ain't. Now I'll pull this one off, clean up the sides of the wire wheel, and get her welded too. Alright, second side's all scabbed together. Not great. Piece of crap welder, but this side's frame was not rotten. So this is more of just a brace, but the braces are done. Just gotta get some paint on it and get some undercoating on this whole car. So we gotta get this exhaust off next and take care of that. And then clean up everything, buff everything up, give it a new spray, and then we'll move on to bushings. Definitely dirty now after all that grinding, buffing, and welding. But I wanna get this thing down a little bit so I can hop in. We'll give this thing one last cold start and some revs with this crusty old exhaust. It's definitely been scabbed together at some point over the years before I bought it. And then we gotta get the new exhaust on, but I think I might need a test pipe put in right about there. So that could be interesting. I don't know if the new exhaust is actually gonna fully make it or not, but we'll get a before and after sound and see how much better it is. Hopefully it's really nice. Alright, one last cold start and some revs with the not stock but not great exhaust. Pretty raspy, not that loud, and I got a resonator on the new one. I'm hoping it's going to be louder and just nicer sounding in general, but we'll see how it goes. Let's get that done. Well, I got the new ISR GT exhaust roughly installed, which looks super nice. Back two hangers are on, that hanger. This hanger doesn't have anywhere to go, so we're gonna have to fab something up for that. And as I suspected, we need to build a test pipe, but they're not clocked the same way in two-hold. So it's gonna have to be a custom piece that has the right roll of the flanges. So that is gonna take me a minute to get back to that. Plus, I still want to coat this undercarriage, so I'm probably going to pop this back off again and work on that first, but I just was excited to see how this was going to fit and see what we're going to need to do. But so far, it's looking like it's going to be really nice once we get this stainless piece put in here. Alright, so I got some of the undercarriage coated, the exhaust's back off, and now I'm working on bushings and stuff like that. I got both lower control arms out, which is just the two bolts through the bushings on the side, and then the ball joint, lower ball joint here that I had to take off. So once I got it off, then you gotta try and get the old bushings out, which is the toughest part. And I got one out here, and then I got everything all wire wheeled and cleaned up and painted and whatnot. And now the second one I finally got out. I still gotta get the bushings out of it. So rather than pressing them out, you just torch it and basically light it on fire. And then once it melts all the rubber and burns that all out, the inner sleeve will pop out with the rubber, and then you just cut the inside of the sleeve out. I also got the rear sway bar end link cleaned up and some new bushings and stuff on there. So once the control arms are back in, then we can put that up and everything will start to look good on the back end here. Just got to keep cleaning stuff up. As you can see, there's some surface rust in areas and some things that need to get touched up still. So I got to keep working my way back. But as you can see, the bits I welded in is all cleaned up and painted, coated. So let's get to torching. Damn, that got exciting. You just burn it out. Melt all that rubber, do the same to the other side, get that inner sleeve and rubber out, then cut the outer sleeve a bit, and then pry it out and hit it with a chisel. You can see it starts to pop out as it gets hot. Hopefully it'll slide right out just like the other one. Then once you got the innards all burnt out of it, take a chisel and a screwdriver and just kind of fold one end down. And then I'm going to take either the Sawzall or the die grinder and kind of grind beside that to split it, and then the whole thing will chip out of there easily with a chisel and a hammer. Careful, it's hot. So I don't actually have a press that's proper for this, so I just took a big bolt and a washer. And then you put the bushings in, grease them all up. Grease the inside of this, and then I put a big 3/4 inch drive socket on the other side with a nut and drive it home, and then I switch to a slightly bigger socket that reaches around the outside of that so that I can finish pushing all the way through, but it's just a little too deep to be able to get the nut on, but it seems to work pretty good. It's definitely tight getting those in. There's no way to do this without some sort of power tool that I'm aware of, without struggling real hard, and then once that's through, then we can put the sleeves in. And just like that, we got new bushings, sway bar, everything's looking good. Certainly not for the faint of heart though. Like, I thought this was gonna be easy and there's still so many more bushings to go, and that took me almost all day to get those burned out and then come up with a press of some sort. So I ordered a ball joint press, but it's a little late for that now, but yeah, Jimmy rigged something, so if you're not handy and got no ingenuity, don't try this at home unless you got the right tools. It does take forever, and that was strictly just sway bar end links, sway bar bushings, which don't even really seem to fit properly, but I don't know. And then lower control arm bushings, burning those out, pressing them in, then pressing the sleeve in. It's a lot, but gotta keep moving on. Got a few more yet to do, and we'll check back in a bit. Okay, now that I got a lot of the rear end cleaned up and coated, everything is looking much more clean and fresh underneath here. Gotta get these brake lines bolted back up that are obviously still dirty, but I don't think I want to paint those or anything. But we can get rid of a couple of them because we will be running a new hydro handbrake line through the inside. So this line here was actually leaking. So I've removed it from the junction up there, capped it off. So that line can go. And then this one here, I believe, was for the Hikis. So that one can go as well, and then just leave our fuel lines. So we can remove 2 of those, bolt that back up, and then remove all the brake lines off the back. Right now the rear brakes are disassembled and I took the wheels off. And that's the next thing we're gonna get to tackling, is all of those bushings in there, the brakes, the new hubs, front tie rod ends need to get done, and the angle kit, new boots, angle kit, inner and outer angle kit, front brakes, rotors, pads, and we're gonna coat the calipers as well. So lots of work yet to go, and some more bushings, plus we're waiting on some new front steering components for this, and actually rear upper control arms as well. But the underside's definitely looking a lot better. Now we can put that new exhaust on too, now that everything is cleaned up. So one of the next things I want to keep track of, yes, I know the wheel's on backwards, I just put it there for reference, but I've taken some angle measurements of max turning radius right now in both directions. So that's how much turning angle we have now. We got new tie rods going on and the angle kit. So I got turn in, turn out, and where it was straight. So now we can reference that once we put the new angle kit on and see how much this thing actually gains. So doing these front end parts becomes a domino effect. I essentially went to remove the tie rod end that was here and ended up realizing I have to do the ball joint on the lower control arm. So then I got that off, and the tie rod end was stuck, ball joint was stuck, so I'm gonna take the whole lower control arm off and press the ball joint out on the bench or on the floor where I can work on it easy. But the bushing that also needs to be changed, the bolt is seized up in there. So I have it loosened off, it's fine, but the bolt actually won't come out because it's seized to the inner sleeve of that bushing. So now I'm gonna have to potentially cut the Sawzall, or if I can get zip disc in there, I'll cut that off, then I can replace that. I'll have to replace the bolt, obviously, and I have new tension rods coming, but they've been over a month in the waiting for them to show up. While I'm here, I got, sway bar end links to do, and I'm gonna paint up the calipers, plus I got new hubs. So I'm gonna clean up the knuckle, replace the hub with some 5-lug for the new wheels and brakes that we have, and then might as well put the new brakes on as well. So it's a domino effect of a ton of things to do. I'm not gonna bore you with all that, but this one is definitely tricky to get that off. It's gonna be something. But yeah, got a ton of stuff to do on each corner. I started on this side just to add the outer roll center correction pieces that I need on that lower ball joint. So that ball joint had to come out to put that on, and then there's another sleeve that attaches it back to the knuckle. So pretty much everything's got to come apart anyway. And then I can put the angle kit on the inside of the tie rod, and then we can reassess how much angle we've actually got. So there's a lot of work here, but essentially the whole entire car is going to be new by the time I'm done, which is the plan, so everything handles perfectly. My face is filthy, and I'm going to get back to it. So stick around, I'll show you the end result once we have wheels, tires, new brakes, new control arms, new everything in the front end. Everything's going to be mint and cleaned up, and then we can finally move to interior and body work. Alright, so it's been a couple days. We got a lot of work done underneath this car. It's looking really good. Still waiting on a couple of parts to show up, and then we can get it finished, but I'll show you what I've been working on. So we got the new ISR exhaust on, and then had to make up this little test pipe here. And nowhere in town had stainless, nowhere in town weld stainless, so I had to order some online, and then a buddy of mine down the road tigged them up for me. So now we have full stainless with nice welds all the way along. And a little teaser, I did start it up already. It is a bit quieter because I added the resonator as well as the fart can on the back, but it's way crisper, way better sounding, and I think once the can breaks in a bit, packs in some of that packing, then it'll be a lot louder. Got the sway bar end links, bushings replaced, the sway bars themselves painted up, new bushings there, and then cleaned up everything in the wheel wells and the whole underside of the chassis. Got the phase 2 brake rotors on and some EBC yellow stuff pads, painted up all the calipers and all new bushings, like I said, new ball joints, and then underneath the car has been fully cleaned up, fresh undercoating everywhere, cleaned the drive shaft, everything, cleaned everything up, deleted the charcoal canister evap line, so now we just have it venting out of the back. And then up to the front, we have, again, some new wheels. I don't want to show you those quite yet, but you'll get the idea. Got New tie rods, new tie rod ends, ball joints, knuckles. Oh, and also the ISR hub conversion kit, so everything has got new wheel bearings and converted to 5-bolt. We also have the offset rack spacers that we got from Drift HQ, and that pushes the tie rod out more. And then on this side we have the high angle offset kit that attaches to the lower ball joint and then moves the pickup point. There's 2 slots. There's a grip and a drift setting there for your outer tie rod end. So everything's looking good, all cleaned up. We got a lot more angle now. Put some new boots on as well. I'm not really sure what to do with that, because now that's exposed. I could put another boot on there, I guess. I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it exposed for now. But everything's looking real clean, real good in the wheel wells. Underside of the car is looking pretty done. So just waiting on the upper control arms for the back. Still waiting on those, and still waiting on the front tension rods. Those need to go. We need some high angle ones, but then we run into a problem of the wheel and tire is going to be hitting here, which is stopping a lot of our angle, but we do have a lot more already. So we either might have to delete the front sway bar or come up with a high angle one. I know GK Tech, same guys that makes the angle kit that we're rocking, has a high angle one or a high clearance one that tucks it in a lot tighter. It's more plate design, and then basically you'd hit the frame rail before anything. But I don't know how much angle we actually want or need, but it's just all coming together. Next thing we're gonna have to deal with though is doing a little fender pulling. These new wheels are ultra wide, went with a square setup all around. And again, they stick in quite far out, front and rear. The rears I think will be able to tuck, but once we get the tires and the rear upper control arms and the front tension rods, then we'll be able to get everything adjusted and fine-tuned, and we can see how much we really got to pull. I do got a fender roller puller, so we can see how much we can get some heat on it and just start tugging those away. But once that's done, then we can move on to putting the new body kit on and the interior. We got to run the hydro handbrake underneath and then connect it to, it comes with banjo bolts, or no it doesn't, it comes with M10x1 threaded fittings, which I can tie in to the factory line up there, but it says to go right to the caliper, but the caliper is a banjo fitting, so we'll have to route that through the inside while we're doing the inside of the car, so we can have rear brakes again. But everything's looking brand new. It should handle like a dream now. One last thing we got to do before we close this video out is do a cold start and a fire up and see what it sounds like with the new ISR exhaust that we got, because before it was super raspy. I also did one other thing and deleted the blow off valve because I wanted more spinny boy noises. I also drilled a few holes in the turbo housing, like a T51R mod or whatever they call it, but it's not really. We put a couple small holes in the compressor housing, and it just causes a bit more of a whistle as the wind goes by. It kind of thing causes some turbulence. A little cooler sound. This turbo was very efficient, I should say. Wasn't very noisy, and the blow-off valve was just more of a didn't really make any cool sounds, and I wanted more of that turbo flutter that I love. If it shortens the life of the turbo, it's debatable, but I don't really care. I built this car to be fun and enjoy it, and that's what I'm gonna do with it. So I deleted it. We'll fire this thing up in a few here, and I might do some fine tuning on the tune itself, because at the moment it still needs to be adjusted. So I figure I better not mess with the tune until in the two-step and be too aggressive until we get the oil changed and until we get the tune sorted out and the fuel pressure sorted out, since the new fuel pressure regulator and stuff. I don't want to blow this thing up quite yet, so we'll give you a cold start right now. Apparently not. Now it doesn't want to start. Why? Cars, man. Cars are pain. Putting fuel in it, thinking had no fuel, looking around the engine bay, trying to get it started with some brake clean and stuff. It would fire up. It was like it wasn't getting fuel, but I got it figured out. It was just a plug that came unplugged off the one fender well. It's got a nice deep rumble to it. It's not excessive by any means, but it's not nearly as raspy as... Alright, she's up to temp. Give it some revs, show you what it's like. Maybe do the little limiter, the weak two-step that needs to get retuned. We'll do that, and then you can compare in the next videos. So make sure you stay tuned to the next ones where we get this thing finally tuned properly and I start messing around with the two-step, because right now it's a soft limiter and it's terrible. We'll show you. Able to manipulate it pretty good there, and it actually did something, so that was cool. Alright man, that's it. Stick around for the next videos. We'll get more to come. We've got body kit, wrap, paintwork, all that sort of stuff to go, so stick around. We'll see you in the next one.